Monster Inoue has found himself successful in boxing and is now stepping into some important, significant shoes. Familiar shoes worn by other fighters who have been at the top of their craft and have those who are willing to take their peak away from them, the lofty peak of which they sit. Let's talk about this and a fight on the table that Monster may be avoiding. Monster Inoue, a fighter whose name is becoming more and more prominent as the super bantamweight champion, who's undisputed, is now looking for more challenges. And coming off of his recent victory on Friday, January 24th against Yi Jun Kim, a fourth round stoppage had Inoue looking great amongst his Japanese fans. But there's a fighter out there who has been calling for the neck of Inoue. And though the 31-year-old fighter is in the midst of a prime, he's not so willing to consider this fighter. And the fighter that we're talking about is someone that he really should consider, because in this state of the game of boxing, when we talk about fighters becoming legitimized, that's exactly what he needs, since he's been blowing through his opposition. The fighter at hand is Murajan Akhmadaliev, better known as MJ. The Uzbekistan fighter is a knockout puncher himself. He gets rid of people. And though he has one loss, a split decision loss to a common opponent that he and Inoue share, Marlon Tapales, whom he lost that decision in May of 2023. MJ wants to press forward. Now, Inoue defeated Tapales, and when he did so, he remarked that Murajan was not of interest because he lost that decision to Tapales. And even though he stopped Tapales in the 10th round, the fight was in Japan. And see, therein lies the difference, because Monster has been enjoying the luxury of having his matches in his hometown amongst his countrymen. And when MJ took on Tapales, it was in San Antonio. I believe these two should get it on. But Eddie Hearn feels like Monster is going to avoid him. And though MJ is now a mandatory contender, Hearn is thinking that the WBA champion, Inoue, and the title that he has, the mandatory MJ, may end up fighting for a vacant title if Inoue decides to vacate. So that's what Hearn feels that's going to happen. Now, with his victory Friday the 24th, Inoue is now 29 wins with 26 KOs. And the thing about it is, Inoue is looking to move into the US for his next fight, according to Bob Arum from Top Rank Boxing, who stated that after the victory from Friday. Now, is Arum willing to put Inoue in with Tapales? It would be a great fight. And since they're both knockout punchers, someone is bound to hit the deck in that fight. They both are very similar in size and reach. Inoue is 5'5" with a 67.5-inch reach, and Tapales is 5'5.5" with a 68-inch reach. And MJ likes to get in there and get into the thick of the battle. He reminds me of an old fighter that fought in the middleweight division, Mustafa Hamsho. He's very heavy-handed, and he can pound, and he takes his time as he goes about hurting his opponents. Unlike Inoue, who seems to swarm and likes to catch people by surprise and then flurry and get rid of them with power shots. Murejan is very confident in his abilities, and he's a former Olympic standout as well. And that may be where Monster will run into trouble because of the Uzbekistan's amateur background, that though he's only 13-1 with 10 KOs, MJ has the experience of having faced all sorts of styles, particularly the style that Monster has. And he would fare very well. Now, he feels that Inoue is making tons of excuses for fighting him. And according to an article in Boxing Scene, he has stated, "I've been vocal about it. There are rules in boxing, and I want to fight them. I'm the mandatory. I'm a former unified champion. I want to fight the best. The best is Inoue, and I don't want to just get the title." You see, these are the words spoken by a guy who wants to get in there and test his mettle against who everyone's stating is the best. And his record, again, 13-1 with 10 KOs, means that even having suffered a setback of a decision loss, a split decision loss, which means that it could have gone either way. It wasn't like he was counted out, wasn't like he was battered or even dropped. It was a split decision. Sometimes, as we know in modern day boxing, split decisions are all a part of politics. Could it have been that he got the split decision in that fight so that Tapales, when he went to fight Inoue would have an easier trek towards becoming the undisputed super bantamweight? Food for thought, right? So as we look at this and we consider all things on the table, it's looking more like Akhmadaliev may be correct in his assessment of things. He went on to state, "For some reason, the fight is not happening, and they've kept me frozen for almost 2 years. If he doesn't want to fight, what can I do? I cannot make him fight me. If people demand this fight, maybe it will change something. I want to fight him and prove. I know myself, my skills, my level, that I know I can beat him." You see, I love this kind of talk from fighters who are hungry and who want to legitimize their position in boxing. He goes on, "I don't know what's going on. I really don't. Someone clearly doesn't want this fight to happen, whether it's him, his team, his promoters. I don't know who does that. Usually fighters will fight anyone, but definitely someone doesn't want this to happen because I've been waiting for a very long time. Somehow they find a way to avoid the fight. He's given opportunities to other guys. Okay, I don't mind that. But there is a line that does not exist for them." You see, Akhmadaliev was asked if he was okay with Inoue taking a lesser foe in the US before moving on to a bout in Saudi Arabia later this year. He says, "I'm at the point I don't trust anyone. The great champions have always defended their belts. That's the rules. I honor 3 mandatories in 18 months. It's ridiculous to hear Inoue's excuses. I'm ready to fight him anytime, anywhere. I'm ready to go to Las Vegas, Japan, Saudi. I'm ready to go anywhere to get my opportunity against the best fighter in the world. And that's all we can ask, isn't it? That the best fight the best. Now, if it is true that Aram, in an agreement with Turki Al-Sheikh, will allow Inoue to face a lesser opponent, and then for the Riyadh season event, they try to pair it up as MJ versus the Monster, I could go with that. But they would have to come through with that fight later in the year. You can't just let him have an easy touch and then he go to Saudi and take on someone that really doesn't belong in the ring with him. Even though that's not how Turki Al-Sheikh has operated, it could still happen. And so we have to pay very close attention to this type of thing and hold, like Mirajan says, hold their feet to the flame. And I would love to see that fight take place. But what do you think? This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, the third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about this particular fight and matchup. And do you feel that Inoue and his people are stalling things out because they would like for something to go a different way, and hopefully along the way, MJ suffers a defeat? Leave comments and let's discuss. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.